Hey guys, it's Brent again. This is, I guess, part two of triangulation, and it's kind of hard to put all this stuff like in a like a flow because all this shit happens at the same time other shit is happening. You know what I mean? And so, like, I want to talk about triangulation, but triangulation was from the start to the end. And in actuality, looking back, I don't think like she really ever wanted a relationship. I think I was more of like I was reading a book called Psychopath Free. I don't think she's a psychopath. She is a narcissist, and she may be a psychopath. I don't know. I don't know about mental shit at all. Uh, so who? I mean, I can call her a narcissist because she checked off most of the red flags. You know what I mean? But back to triangulation. I think I was the one used for triangulation actually. Um, she made me feel like I was front and center in her mind. Like I said, she had this friend, and this dude was, you know, he was wanting to date her. He was married, but he was wanting to date her. Wanted her to be his side piece. Told her that, like at a restaurant, from what she said. Um, on our first date, he blew up her phone all night almost. Just call after call. I mean, the whole night was probably 30 calls. And instead of picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, I'm doing something. I'll call you back later," she just let it ring. And then when we were kind of driving around, it was an impromptu date, and so we did some impromptu shit. We went to eat. We went and walked in a golf course. Made my first move. Tried to kiss her the first time. We ended up kissing. Then we went and ballooned a friend's house, a coworker's house. Like I said before, she and I worked together. We drove around and just talked, And then they have this like little duck pond I wanted to go to, but she didn't want to go because this dude knew that she hung out there sometimes, so she didn't want him to show up. And and this dude was ever present for the remainder of the time. Uh, you know, a couple days later at work, I'd hang out with her on my breaks. A couple days later, he sent. Our first date was on a Wednesday night, and I think the next day or maybe that Friday, he had sent her a dozen red roses, which wasn't the first time he had done that. Now she's telling him that she just wants to be friends, that she didn't see him romantically. She calls him all kind of fucked up shit to me, like dumbass, and she ended up later on she'd call him the devil and say that he's stupid and he's a liar and he's fucked up and probably so I just keep my guard down, and I did. It worked. But a couple days later, he sent her a dozen roses at work, and she put them right there on her desk, like that was from her fucking, her beau, And I'd come in there and be like, and that's the first thing. That's the first thing that didn't make sense to me. Somebody sends me, I don't know how. I think most women, if somebody sent them something, I know I'd be this way, but I think like if there's somebody that I liked, she's making it clear that she didn't like me, and I sent her a dozen red roses, I don't think she'd advertise it. I don't think she'd put it on her desk, but she did. It was right there. And I hung out in her office on my breaks and lunches. And so that was the first thing that didn't make sense. And then she made a big deal about it. She, like a couple days later after he sent them, she asked me if it bothered me. And I was like, no. I was like, it didn't, because I believed what she was saying, that we were clicking, and that she never felt like this before, and this was kept going on. I never felt like this before, and never or in a long time at least is what she'd say. I never haven't felt this way in a long time for somebody. We click so well, we're so in common. Constant streaming that shit. And to be fair, I was doing it too. I was reciprocating, and but she asked me, "Did it bother you that?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "I'm pretty confident. I'm a confident dude, and I believe what you're saying. So why would I have anything to worry about?" And then she sent me a message saying that that it bothered her. It didn't bother me. He sent her roses that she thought we had something more than just hanging out. Now, I'd been saying that the whole time. I never gave her a reason to think that I just, she knew I wanted more at that point, And again, that's kind of setting the hook looking back, It's like, oh, I guess I got to prove to her now, you know. Uh, you know, but yeah, it was confusing to me because I remember, thinking, I've never given you a signal that we were just hangout buddies, you know. I'm, I'm flirting with you. I'm kissing you. I'm telling you that I really like her. I don't think I mentioned I wanted a relationship. This is days after our first date. I don't know if I wanted a relationship yet. And then, during this whole time, we were kind of keeping everything hidden from our coworkers. And that was like a little funny inside joke. Then like a week later, going back to the triangulation now, a week later, no, it wasn't a week. My apologies. It was a couple weeks later. This dude was always, she would always talk about him, and he was always around. And then, so we're like 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, somewhere in there. Fast forward a couple weeks after our first date. She'd always talk about him, about how he wants more, but she likes me, and how he wants more, but she just don't see him like that. How he wants more, all this shit. And then my first time getting cut off from everything, except if it was at work, was like on a Friday, and her washing machine had gone out, and this dude bought her a new washing machine, and literally, like from total time from when we first started talking outside of work to now was probably like around a month and a half, 2 months. We talked every day. Up until this point, we talked every single day, hours a day, hours at night, until I fell asleep. And oftentimes I would fall asleep on the phone. And then this dude buys her a washing machine, and I literally don't hear from her again for weeks outside of work. Inside of work, we're still keeping up. And she's like, I'm so sorry. That's a lie. I didn't hear from her for like a week outside of work. And then she keeps his kids, because he has a couple kids. So she keeps his kids, and his kids get along with her kid. And so she blames it on that. Now, I don't give a fuck who you are. You can send a text. You know what I mean? It takes 5 seconds to say, hey, how's it going? How's your day? Or how's your night? What you eating for dinner? Whatever. Thinking about you, just can't talk. Whatever you got to say. It takes 5 seconds. So, but she blamed it because she had all these kids at her house that she was just kind of inundated. Then we don't talk outside of work. We don't say anything. There's no communication. I'm texting her going, hey, what's going on? How you doing? What are you doing tonight? And there's radio silence from her. And then like the next Saturday, and at this point I'm thinking, well, I mean, it really sucks because I really liked her. Thought we had a connection. But, I didn't have too much invested at that point. And then the next weekend, she invited me to this karaoke place. And so I show up, I meet some of her friends. And it's like nothing happened. Nothing. We have a great night. There's some flirting going on. There's some kissing going on in the bar. And then in front of her friends, And then she sings a couple songs, and then it's last call, and then we leave, and then we go hang out we drive somewhere and like make out for fucking like 5 hours till like 4 or 5 in the morning. Then we go to IHOP. It was like, oh, okay. Well, maybe the kid shit was real. Maybe she just had a lot going on. She couldn't talk. But then, boom, she was gone again for another several weeks. And come to find out, she told me that she'd been going over to his house and staying with him. And you know, say, oh, okay, you go to your friend's house, and she played this shit all the way through. And the only reason she came back, uh, the only reason we started really even talking again, is because like 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, somewhere in there, I was in her office, and like I said, we would talk, and it was like nothing was happening in her office. I mean, we would still flirt, every now and then we'd kiss a little bit. Uh, but outside of work, it was radio silence. And then one day I just told her, I was like, if I walked out the door and never came back, I don't think you'd do a fucking thing. So, and I was ready just to walk away at that point. And that was on a Friday. And she came over to my house. First time she came over to she was supposed to come over to my house a couple times before this to I was going to cook or whatever. And when I told her that was time to reel, I was slipping. So she had to reel it in. And so she called me. And, I had a little campfire going in the back, and she's like, well, how about, I was thinking about coming to visit you tonight. And I was happy as shit. It's like, fuck yeah, all right. Maybe this is something. So she came over. We had a great night. We made out all night in the backyard. Her son was in my house playing games, And stayed here till like 6 in the fucking morning. And then it was radio silent for another week. And she gave me this card and said, in the card, again, bunch of bullshit about when she looks at me, I'm always on her mind. I distract her all day, this stupid shit. But she gave me this card. And then, like the next day I told her, I was like, when you pop off, when you tell me something and then you pop off and I don't fucking hear from you, it devaluates everything you fucking said in this card. And I was like, if you really mean what's in this fucking card, come over to my house tonight and we'll talk. And she did. And, and then from that point on, it started picking up a little again. She actually started coming over to my house often, her and her son. Started spending the night. But this dude was always there. There's way more to it. But like I said, it's hard to fit everything in. So I'll move on to another topic, and we'll probably come back to this, Yeah. So we'll go ahead and end it now, and we'll pick up later on.